I ended up meeting with some guys that I was just friends with at Prestonwood Baptist Church in Dallas, Texas. And the four of us would sit down at lunch every Monday and we just dream. What would the perfect church look like? What would it be like? And so if we just put it on paper, what does it look like? And we started to talk about that. And eventually I told that group, I think that my wife and I are going to go and try and actually make this happen. How can we, with God's leading, obviously God's hand being on the whole time, how can we plant the perfect church? What would it be like?
I get this phone call from a friend in Dallas, Texas, and said, we have a guy here that's an associate pastor at our large Prestonwood Baptist Church, and he feels led to come to Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, I started shouting and screaming because we were looking for a pastor.
When Scott first came to me and said that we should check out Raleigh, North Carolina to plant a church, I was really surprised. I didn't think that was an area that we would end up going. But we had been open to so many different places, and we really just said, God, where do you want us to be? Our hands are open. We'll go wherever you want us to go. And he led us here.
So Scott came about 2 days later, and I spent 2 days with him. We drove all around Chapel Hill, all around Durham, and then ended up in Raleigh.
And we started praying that God would go before us. We didn't want to go if God wasn't going to go. And then we started to be amazed at how God had gone ahead of us and started preparing the way.
When Scott and Shannon had asked us to consider planting, we were at a place in our ministry where we were really ready to be a part of something where we had to see the Lord come through.
There were a lot of unknowns, but it wasn't scary.
So now that we've been here and we're seeing the Lord come through, our prayers actually coming through, having to see the Lord show up and make his ministry happen, and us just being willing to be used in any way.
The man had told me about the opportunity that they had to be a part of Southbridge. A man had talked to me and asked me if I would consider going with them. And if anybody who knows me really well knows that I really like to control things, and I really like to know what's ahead and what the future is. And without a hesitation, I said absolutely. And I think it shocked Amanda as much as it shocked me. She said, you can think about it. I said, I don't have to think about it. I really know that the Lord's calling me to be a part of this.
We called our friends back in Louisville and was just talking to them about being discouraged, about not being able to find a church and not being able to get plugged in. And so they said, oh, we have friends here that are planning a church, and we're pretty sure that they have some friends in Raleigh planting a church.
We saw the article in the newspaper the same week that my husband bought a building to move his business into the Briar Creek area, and it was just like the Lord answered 2 years of praying, and he said Southbridge.
In May, we started just meeting as many people as we possibly could, trying to meet as many people that weren't plugged into a church as we possibly could, and that happened in a variety of different ways.
I got home from work and there was a message from, I believe it was Shanna, and just asked if we wanted to get together and meet, and so we met up and they talked to us about Southbridge and the vision a little bit, and then it's all been good from there.
That then led us to meeting one couple that said, we're members of this country club, why don't you come and have something there?
So when I heard a couple of good Cedarville guys were coming down to start a church in my area, and I had just graduated college, I was looking for a good change and a place where I could really get plugged in. I was really excited about it, especially since my friends were going too. So I decided to come check it out when they were over at the country club, and the rest is history.
We decided to get together with Scott and Shanna, hear a little bit more about the vision, and from there the Lord just asked us to take one more step. And so we decided we'll come check out a Sunday at the country club. And while we were there, we walked away from that, and the Lord just united our hearts.
I had been trying a few different churches in Raleigh since I've been in college, and I've been in college for 4 years, so you would think that I found a church to get plugged into, but I haven't. And so I heard about it through Jeff, and I had actually grown up in a church plan as well, and so I really liked the small knit community that it offered, and just to be part of a growing church and to see the things that the Lord is doing was really exciting to me.
And then that was where we ended up meeting at the very beginning, and Jason and I both taught for almost 2 hours at that time period, and there was no music, and so we figured if people could endure that, then maybe they were strong enough to be able to help plant this church.
Last September with 30 people, I thought, boy, this is going to be a long road.
When I first walked into the country club, and my friend Billy was like, yeah, this is where we're going to be meeting. There were like 20, 25 people there. There were some chairs. We were in like this really nice ballroom, and there were some other people walking around, getting ready to play golf and stuff. It was kind of weird, but in a good way, it was awesome because other people got to see us. Our presence was felt as a church in a secular environment, in an environment that is consumed by wealth and money and a whole lot of other things. So in a way, it was really neat to kind of we are a community church, and to be really in the community in a very realistic way.
It became clear after being at the country club for a little while that when we wanted to launch the church, we weren't going to have enough room to continue to be there and to launch the church. And we started looking around the community, trying to find places that we could meet, that we could rent and be in for a little while. And the movie theater kept coming up.
People would never think of church being in a movie theater, but the opportunities that those type of places open up, and the type of conversations that come up when you're talking to somebody at a grocery store. Hey, where do you go to church? Well, I go to Briar Creek movie theater. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? So it just opens up all kinds of doors.
The thing that excites me the most is God's changing lives. I mean, we could talk about how many programs we have, who's leading those programs, how God's put these talented people in place, what Sunday morning looks like, children's ministry, actually having a children's ministry.
Yeah.
When we started, we just had some folks in another room at the country club that were basically babysitting our kids, and now there's actually life change happening with the kids. That's what's exciting to me, is that people's lives are being impacted.
I think the major life change that I've experienced is, naturally I'm a very introverted person, and so for me it's been really amazing to see how community can shape my life and make me more accountable to God and make me actually draw closer to God by being involved with other believers.
I think the thing with Southbridge, I've never been with a group of men and women, young people that have a zeal to do what the Bible says.
It being a new church, it has provided the opportunity to give back and to serve, because there's many opportunities that are available to serve and help. And it's something to be excited about, or look forward to going to help other people or serve and get connected as well.
Probably the first time in my life that I get up on Sundays and really just want to come to church. Not, okay, let's go and get it over with.
Right.
There's a real feeling of wanting to be there.
Right.
And
one of the things that meant a lot to us is the first day we walked in, we were met by an entirely different group of people. You saw believers that had years in front of us and had walked with the Lord much longer than we had. And you had people that were obviously new families, new believers, those just seeking to find out where can they call home and even who is the Lord. And so it was a lot of fun to just see that diversity, and it's not just one type of people. It's a very, very open body that you can learn from where they've been and you can share with where you've been. Our histories are all different. We've probably been to lots of different churches or no churches, but we share one thing in common, and that's that we're just pursuing Christ with our hearts, and we're about being a part of change in our own lives.
The first time that we came in, it was friendship, the fellowship with the people, and I felt very much connected the first time I went there.
Being involved in this church, we've been blessed with several great friendships. In our community group that we're actively involved in, we meet once a week, and through that we're able to share life together. We're able to share our story with other people. They share their story with us, and it's just really good to be able to lean on other people, encourage people to go out and be Jesus to others in that community group and in the church.
I hope that people will come to Southbridge and they'll see through the lives of the other people at Southbridge, Christ. And then by seeing Christ through their lives, they would realize how much God loves them, that God has a plan to use them, and that they might take somebody that's known Jesus for 30 years and allow them to take the next steps in their faith journey. Someone who's never met Jesus, to be introduced to him for the first time, to come to know Christ and to have that life-changing experience that drives everything that we do. I mean, when I accepted Christ, that's where the vision started. It was, while Christ can do this in someone's life, I want everybody to know.
Probably our greatest desire for anyone who walks through the doors at Southbridge is that they would see the love of Christ through the people that are there, and that they would realize that their love for the Lord is something very real, something very deep, something that has truly changed our lives.